Now that football season's over, now it's time to talk about what's been the hottest topic for, you would say, 10 plus years, but it's really coming on strong. A couple years ago, when it had to do with Texas, Oklahoma in 2008, and now this year with Oklahoma State and Alabama. Talk about the BCS system. Everybody wants to scream the big P word, playoffs. Well, all I keep hearing is every sport has a playoff type of system where they determine a champion, and that always seems to work. Okay, you're right about that. But do I have a problem with the BCS? Do I hate the BCS system? Do I hate the BCS what it stands for? No, I think it's fine. Do I think the BCS system is flawed to a degree? Yes, I do think it's flawed. Any type of system is flawed. Nothing's perfect. But let's start over here. The two things I want to talk about when it comes to the BCS system. Number one, the BCS is to find out the first and the second best teams in college football to play the championship game. That's the only thing. It's not to find out who's gonna play in a Fiesta Bowl, Sugar Bowl, Rose Bowl. No, the championship game gets played in one of those games. Yes, but it doesn't determine. Its main solely purpose is to determine the number one and number two team in college football. The second reason for that I want to talk about the BCS system is the element of it. Everybody wants to complain, say you can't blame the computers. You can't set up a national championship. You can't base it on the computers. Number one, the computers are 1/3 of the vote for the BCS. The human element is the rest of the 2/3 of the BCS voting to determine the number one and number two teams. And when the human voting, I mean the Harris poll and the coaches poll. Now, if you want to say anything is flawed, you could say the system is flawed, because I think the computers they determine, some computers determine strength of schedule, and they minus the highest and the lowest score, and then they average it out like that. But you could say that there's coaches that have their bias, or the Harris poll. I read that there's a former SEC commissioner said that 5 of the top 11 teams in the BCS standing should be in the SEC, where the top 11 teams that he voted for in the Harris poll from the SEC. I cannot see those teams. Please let me know. Oh, I can see Alabama and LSU. Yes. You gonna tell me Georgia? No, they just got shellacked. Are you gonna tell me Arkansas? No, they've been dominated by the number one and number two teams. So you can't tell me those two teams. And I don't know who the fifth team was. I really like to have a conversation with that person. But I don't know who the fifth team that they thought was a top 11 team in the country. You look at the coaches poll. I saw Alabama. I think Nick Saban said that Oklahoma State was the fourth. He put them behind Stanford. A lot of SEC coaches did that. You can look at all the Big 12 coaches. All 9 out of the 10 Big 12 coaches put Oklahoma State number 2, except for Missouri, who had them, I think, at 3 or 4. They had them at 3 or 4. So the human element is more of the reason why that's going on. Of the reason why it's I would say why everybody is try to blame the computers. To my opinion, I really think it's the voters. They have to find some type of committee. So they have to find some way to get this right. But I don't think that will never happen. Now on to the playoff angle. People, there will never, in my opinion, there will never ever be a playoff system. The BCS system, I think, will never be replaced by a playoff system. Because of one or two things. The number one reason why is you can look at the Sugar Bowl matchup. Look at the Sugar Bowl matchup just in all seriousness aside. Look at the Sugar Bowl matchup. New Orleans. Now, the Sugar Bowl gets a tie-in from the SEC. But since LSU and Alabama are playing, they have to pick at-large teams. The two teams that they picked Michigan. I have no problem with Michigan. Michigan went 10-2, even though in my opinion they're a little overrated because they didn't play the toughest schedule in the world. They didn't have the hardest road ever to get there, but they went 10-2. But the team that was picked in New Orleans, now Sugar Bowl is played in New Orleans, the city. Hurricane Katrina, not really good economics. They've had a real sports thing about money and ticket scandals and stuff like that. They picked Virginia Tech. Now, Virginia Tech just lost, not even lost. They got dominated by Clemson, who's going to be in the Orange Bowl. The Orange Bowl, I think, is a really fair matchup this year. I really like the Orange Bowl this year with West Virginia and Clemson. That's a really good game. I can't wait to see. But Virginia Tech got dominated by Clemson twice. They're only 2 years on the season, and you have teams like Baylor, who deserved it, I think, Boise State, TCU, or even Kansas State. Now, why do you think that those 4 teams didn't get invited, but Virginia Tech did? That. It's money. That's the reason why the BCS system will never, ever, ever be replaced by a playoff system. It's all about this. You're not getting away those bowl games, especially in New Orleans, which really needs the money. They could have took Baylor. Tell me nobody's eyes would not be fixated on Virginia. Would be fixated on Baylor versus Michigan. That would probably be the most watched game other than the title game, and probably the Fiesta Bowl with Oklahoma State and Stanford. That game might be the highest rated Sugar Bowl that you'll probably ever see. You have Robert Griffin III versus Denard Robinson. Everybody loves offense. That's a game everybody would want to see. But they don't think Baylor's fans could bring it. Can bring in the money. They don't think Baylor will travel. Just like they don't think Kansas State will travel and bring that dough in. Just like they don't think TCU or Boise would be able to bring the money in and bring the dough in and bring that revenue. Because that's what it's all about. The city of New Orleans needs this. So you can't do that. You can't replace it with a playoff system because then politics will be involved. The governors, they will all be involved, saying that no, we don't want this because this economically helps us and it economically helps the city, brings the city up. And another reason why I think the BCS will always be here is because of the tie-ins. Now, you can't have a playoff system. Every playoff system is determined on what? Who automatically gets in. And who automatically gets in? Conference champions. Look at the NFL. The NFC East champion goes in. NFC West, North, South. They automatically in. Basketball, the Big East champ, the baseball, soccer, the automatic champions always get in. You cannot tell me, well, we'll just take the top 8 teams in the BCS and they'll play it off in a playoff system. You can't do that because you're going to need automatic qualifiers. You think, what if like West Virginia? West Virginia's in the Big East. West Virginia deserves to be in. They won their conference. That's like having you can't have that. So we can have an 18 playoffs. Why? You have five conference champions that automatically get bowl tie-ins. So you can't have a playoff system. So you're gonna go 10 teams? No, you're not. So that's the only reason why I think you can never have that. You can never have a playoff system. That's why I think the BCS system is fine the way it is. Also, the one thing that I think that the BCS will do is they will have a +1 system. They'll take the number 1 versus number 4, the number 2 against the number 3 team, and they'll play each other, and then they'll play in the national title game. I think that got started when they added that 5th game, when they added the 5th BCS game, which was the national championship game. I think that was the reason. That was the pushing step, though. That was a stepping stone, I think, of having a +1 system. Seeded +1, 1 versus 4, so it would probably be LSU against Oklahoma State. LSU against Stanford or whoever was 4. And Alabama against Oklahoma State, and then those 2 winners would play each other for the national title. So that's the only way I think that there would ever be some type of playoff you would have. But Like I said, the BCS will never go away because of this right here. You can't make as much money as you can in a B. You cannot make as much money. A city can't make as much money as in a playoff system as they can in the BCS system, in the BCS bowl game. Because if you look, a lot of teams, like a lot of cities are depending on those bowl games. You're not going to take away something that the cities want, and the presidents aren't going to allow, because there's too much money that's involved. So that's my feelings on it. BCS versus the playoff system. I'm pro BCS. You can call me crazy. You can call me unfair. But that's the way it goes. It's worked for years, other than once or twice. And I don't have a problem with it. So let me know what you guys think about it. Do you like the +1 idea? Are you pro BCS? Are you pro playoff? Let me know. But talk to you guys later, and thanks.